Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the football betting series here on YouTube Premier League edition. February was not a great month for us, but as the calendar flips over to the month of March, I'm hoping to recoup some of our losses and turn a profit in this month. I've got 3 picks in today's episode, so if you think I'm talking some sense, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Without further ado, let's get into it. We kick things off with 11th place Brentford playing host to 10th place Aston Villa. And Brentford, they were held to a draw in their most recent match against Everton. Visa made the breakthrough in the stoppage time of the first half before Jake O'Brien levelled the scores in the 77th minute. Taking a look at the stats, this was probably the right result, as the match was truly evenly contested. In terms of form, this does mean that the Bees are now unbeaten in their last 3 Premier League games. However, when we filter by home form, we can see they have no win in their last 6. They host an Aston Villa side who were battered by Crystal Palace in their last match. Ismail Assar put the Eagles 1-0 up in the first half before Morgan Rogers equalised early on in the second period. However, the scores would not remain level for very long as Mateta, Sarr once again and Nketiah added 3 more goals for an emphatic 4-1 win for the Eagles. In terms of form, it is mixed. It's 1 win, 1 draw and 1 loss over the last 3 Premier League matches for Aston Villa. Additionally, they have also only won 1 of their last 7 Premier League games, which has seen the Villains slide down the table to 10th place after a really strong start to the campaign. When we look at the head-to-head record, Aston Villa picked up the win last time around. Rodgers, Watkins and Matty Cash netted in a 13-minute period to kill off the game in the first half. With Aston Villa leading 3-0, Damsgaard gave the Bees a faint hope of a comeback just 10 minutes into the second period, but this would be the final goal of the game, with the match ending 3-1. In terms of form, that win does mean that Aston Villa are unbeaten in their last 5 meetings between these sides, with Brentford's last win coming back in January of 2022. My prediction for today's game is that Villa certainly have the better head-to-head form, but neither side have blown me away in terms of their recent form coming into this match. If we're picking based on form, I would be more inclined to go with Brentford here. However, instead of picking a side, I do like goals in this game. Brentford have seen over 2.5 goals in just 1 of their last 4 Premier League matches. However, at home they have seen over 2.5 goals in 7 of their last 9 Premier League games. Whereas Aston Villa, they've seen over 2.5 goals in each of their last 3 Premier League matches, away from home in 5 of their last 7 matches. Finally, the head-to-head record says that over 2.5 goals have come in 5 of the last 6 Premier League encounters, and 2 of the last 3 at the G-Tech Community Stadium. Therefore, I'm going to back over 2.5 goals for a full stake here in bet number 1. Our second selection sees 13th place Tottenham Hotspurs playing host to 7th place Bournemouth. Thanks to an early contribution from Erling Haaland, Spurs were beaten by 1-0 against Man City in their last match. It was a game in which Man City did have the better of the attacking play, but with an XG of 1.33, Spurs fans may be disappointed that their side could not find the equaliser. In terms of form, that loss did break a recent resurgence for Tottenham. They had won each of their last 3 Premier League games heading into the Man City match, as some key players have finally returned from injury. They host a Bournemouth side who lost in their last match against Brighton by 2-1, thanks to efforts from João Pedro and Danny Welbeck. Taking a look at the stats, whilst Bournemouth had more of the ball and almost double the shot attempts of their hosts, it was Brighton that were the more potent in attack, and they won out in the XG battle, 2.42 to 1.46. When we take a look at the form, this does mean that result did make it back-to-back losses for the Cherries in the Premier League, and there are now question marks about a European spot. When we take a look at the head-to-head record, the previous encounter saw Bournemouth pick up a narrow 1-0 win at the Vitality. Dean Howson scored the goals early game in the first half, and it was the Cherries who looked the more likely to add another. Taking a look at the stats, although Spurs did dominate the ball, it was Bournemouth who generated most of the attacking play. They outclassed Spurs with 21 shots to 12, 7 big chances to 1, and an XG difference of 3.71 to 0.87. Longer term, of the last 4 head-to-head encounters, Spurs have won 2 and Bournemouth have won 2 of the last 4, so it's been fairly even. My prediction for today's game is that both sides don't come into this match on the greatest of form. Both sides do generate a lot of chances and struggle to defend, so I am going to look at goals here today. Spurs have seen over 2.5 goals in just 1 of their last 4 Premier League games, but in 5 of their last 7 home matches. Whereas Bournemouth, they've seen over 2.5 goals in both 2 of the last 3 and 5 of the last 7 Premier League matches, and most importantly, in each of the last 9 away games in the Premier League. Taking a look at the head-to-head record, 3 of the last 5 encounters have seen over 2.5 goals, and each of the last 4 and 6 of the last 7 games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium have seen over 2.5 goals between these sides. Therefore, I'm going to be backing over 2.5 goals for a full stake here in bet number 2. Our third and final bet of today's episode is one of the biggest games of the weekend, as 14th place Manchester United play host to 2nd place Arsenal. And Manchester United, they picked up a win in their last match against Ipswich Town. The Red Devils found themselves behind early on thanks to Jadon Philogene-Bidance's opening goal after just 4 minutes. However, Manchester United managed to flip the script and take the lead in the first period with Morsey's own goal and then De Ligt's go-ahead from a set piece. Right at the end of the first half though, Patrick Dorgu was sent off, which left Manchester United to hold our narrow lead for 45 minutes. Philogene would double his tally in the first half and double Ipswich's tally for the game, levelling the scores at 2-2 going into the interval. And from here on out, it looked like Ipswich might be able to get something from the match and keep their survival hopes alive. However, there was only one goal in the second period, and this came from a set piece in the 47th minute, with Harry Maguire handing Manchester United a 2-1 victory. Taking a look at the stats, despite playing against 10 men for the whole of the second half, Ipswich Town did only manage 8 shots for a combined XG of 0.36. Pretty poor from the Town, but defensively solid from Manchester United. In terms of form, it has been quite mixed for the Red Devils of late. 1 win, 1 draw and 1 defeat in their last 3 Premier League games. They host an Arsenal side who played out a rather drab 0-0 against Nottingham Forest in their last match. Taking a look at the stats, neither side managed to generate more than 1 XG, and there was limited attacking play in the game. Arsenal did come out on top in every major win predictor statistic, however their play in the final third really didn't merit a goal. In terms of form, similarly to Manchester United, the Gunners have seen 1 win, 1 draw and 1 defeat over their last 3 Premier League matches. When we take a look at the head-to-head record, the previous encounter between these sides came in the FA Cup third round. After a 1-1 draw, the tie was settled on penalties, with Manchester United converting all 5 spot kicks to progress in the competition. However, last Premier League encounter saw Arsenal pick up a fairly routine 2-0 win, with goals from Jurrien Timber and William Saliba. Longer term, that win did continue a 4-game winning streak for the Gunners in the Premier League. My prediction for today's game is that Arsenal were the victim of a bit of cup magic last time out, but there can be no question that they are the stronger of the 2 sides and have the better head-to-head record in the Premier League. Both sides do come into this match on mixed form, so I am struggling to see a world where Arsenal don't dominate the ball, dominate the match, and get a result in this one. The odds do look pretty good for an Arsenal away win, but whilst I like these odds, I am going to temper things with a half stake here on account of Arsenal's inconsistent form of late. A £20 half stake on Arsenal to win the match in the final bet of today's episode. So there we have it, 3 picks in today's episode, starting off with Brentford versus Aston Villa. We're taking over 2.5 goals, odds of 1.52, a £40 full stake to return £20 and 80 pence. We also have Spurs versus Bournemouth, and we're also taking over 2.5 goals. Odds a little bit shorter at 1.37, a £40 full stake to return £14 and 80 pence. And then wrapping up the weekend, Manchester United versus Arsenal. We're going to back the away side for a half stake. Odds of 1.92 to return £18 and 40 pence. So across the weekend, we're going to be risking £100 to hopefully pick up as much as £54 in kind. Will we do so? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to tune into the next episode. But if you have made it to this point in the video, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Don't forget to check out the continental pics in the pinned comment down below. And as always, have yourself a lovely day.